Welcome back to CMA USA Exam Coach. In the last few videos, we covered important capital budgeting tools like Payback, NPV, IRR, and ARR. Today, we will discuss Profitability Index or PI, a tool that helps us understand how much value or benefit we get for every dollar we invest. Let's start.
Let's begin with capital rationing. After going through the capital budgeting process, a company may identify many investment projects that are capable of generating wealth. But in real business situations, it is not possible to accept every profitable project. The main reason is that the company's capital is usually limited. They may not have enough funds to invest in all the projects, or sometimes management deliberately restricts investment to avoid taking too much risk or stretching resources too thin. This is where capital rationing comes into play. Capital rationing simply means choosing the best projects when the available funds are not enough for all. The company will rank the projects in order of profitability and then allocate its limited resources to those projects that promise the highest return. For example, imagine a company has identified 4 projects. Project A requires $500,000 and gives high returns. Project B requires $300,000. Project C requires $400,000. And Project D requires $200,000. Altogether, these projects need $1.4 million to fund, but the company only has $1 million available. In this case, the company cannot invest in all 4 projects. So, it will rank the projects, maybe using a tool like the Profitability Index, and then select the combination of projects that fits within the $1 million budget and still gives the maximum possible benefit. In short, capital rationing is the process of making the most efficient use of limited capital by selecting the most profitable set of projects instead of trying to invest in every single project identified. Now let us understand Profitability Index. Profitability Index is calculated using a simple formula. It is the present value of cash inflows divided by the present value of cash outflows. In other words, it compares the benefits we are expecting from a project with the cost we need to invest. This ratio tells us how much value is created for every $1 that goes out as investment. For example, if the profitability index is 1.2, it means that for every $1 we invest, the project is expected to generate $1.20 in return. If the index is less than 1, say 0.8, it means that for every $1 we invest, we are only getting back 80 cents, which is not a good investment. So in simple terms, the profitability index helps us judge whether a project is worth accepting and also helps us rank projects when capital is limited. Let us look at a question to apply the concept of profitability index and capital rationing. A company has 4 investment opportunities. For each project, the required investment and the present value of total inflows are given. The company, however, faces a capital constraint of $1,500,000, which means it cannot invest in all the projects. Here are the details. Project A requires an investment of $300,000 and has a present value of inflows of $350,000. Project B requires $450,000 and gives inflows of $630,000. Project C requires $650,000 and the inflows are $1,170,000. Project D requires $750,000 and the inflows are $1,200,000. The question asks, which projects should the company accept, given the capital constraint, assuming all projects are independent? Now let us calculate the profitability index for each of these projects. For Project A, the present value of inflows is $350,000, and the investment required is $300,000. So, the profitability index is $350,000 divided by $300,000, which comes to about 1.16. For Project B, the inflows are $630,000 divided by the investment of $450,000, which gives a profitability index of 1.4. For Project C, the inflows are $1,170,000 divided by the investment of $650,000. This comes to 1.8, which is the highest among all projects. For Project D, the inflows are $1,200,000 divided by the investment of $750,000, giving a profitability index of 1.6. Now, if we arrange these projects in order of their profitability index, we get Project C first, then Project D, followed by Project B, and finally Project A. Since the company's capital budget is $1,500,000, it cannot take all 4 projects. By selecting Project C and Project D, the total investment will be $650,000 plus $750,000, which equals exactly $1,400,000. This fits within the budget, and at the same time, it gives the maximum return because we are choosing the projects with the highest profitability index. So, the best combination here is Project C and Project D. Now let us talk about risk and capital budgeting. When we do capital budgeting, we rely heavily on forecasting the future cash inflows and outflows of a project. But the future is uncertain, and this uncertainty creates risk. If our forecasts turn out to be incorrect, then the entire evaluation of the project can become misleading or even unusable. To reduce this risk, companies use statistical and analytical tools that help us deal with uncertainty in a more scientific way. Let's go through the main ones. The first one is expected value. This is used when there are multiple possible outcomes, each with its own probability. We calculate a weighted average of all those outcomes. For example, if a project has a 50% chance of earning $100,000 and a 50% chance of earning $200,000, then the expected value will be $150,000. This gives management a realistic estimate instead of relying on just the best case or worst case. The second one is sensitivity analysis. Here we try to measure how sensitive our results are to changes in one input variable. For instance, if sales volume decreases by 10%, how much will it impact the net present value? If the project is very sensitive to a single variable, then the risk is higher, because even a small change in that input will have a big impact on the outcome. The third one is scenario analysis. In this method, instead of changing one input at a time, we consider a set of macroeconomic conditions or business scenarios. For example, what will happen to the project under an optimistic growth scenario, under a most likely scenario, and under a pessimistic recession scenario? This gives us a broader picture of risk under different business environments. The fourth one is simulation analysis. This creates a kind of virtual environment where we can imitate many different possible changes in variables and observe the impact on the project's outcome. It allows us to see a range of possible results, rather than just a single expected figure. Finally, we have the Monte Carlo simulation. This is an advanced computerized method that automatically simulates thousands of possible combinations of variables. For example, it can simulate different sales prices, costs, and demand levels, and then generate a probability distribution of the project's NPV. This helps managers see not just one outcome, but the entire range of risks and the likelihood of each outcome. So, in summary, risk in capital budgeting comes from uncertainty in future cash flows, and these statistical tools help us to reduce that uncertainty and make better informed decisions. Dear students, now we are going to learn about real options in capital budgeting. So, what is a real option really? In simple words, a real option is the flexibility a company has to make changes to an investment after it has already started. Unlike financial options, which are traded in markets, real options are opportunities in real-life projects. They allow management to adapt, respond, and make strategic decisions based on how things actually turn out. Real options are especially valuable because the future is uncertain, and being able to adjust decisions can increase the overall value of a project. There are several types of real options. The first is the option to change the decision after the investment has started. For example, a company may begin a project but later decide to change its approach, scale, or method based on new information or market conditions. The second is the option to terminate the investment. If the project is not performing as expected, the company can stop it early to prevent further losses. For instance, if a new product launch is failing, management may decide to cut the project rather than continue spending. The third is the option to increase the investment. If the initial results of a project are very promising, the company can invest more to expand it and take advantage of the opportunity. For example, a software company may release a basic version first and invest further if the product gains high demand. The fourth is the option to reduce the investment. Conversely, if market conditions worsen or the project is underperforming, the company can scale it down to reduce risk and limit losses. In short, real options provide flexibility and control, allowing a company to adapt its capital budgeting decisions in response to changing circumstances. They add strategic value and help manage risk more effectively, making them a critical part of modern investment analysis.
Thank you for watching this episode. We hope you found it helpful in understanding capital budgeting, profitability index, risk, and real options. In the next episode, we will continue with more advanced topics to strengthen your preparation for the CMA exam. As advice, make sure to read your textbooks carefully and practice as many questions as you can. Practicing questions will help you apply the concepts we discuss and build confidence for the exam. Keep learning, stay consistent, and you will see great results.